After hundreds of hours of talking to business owners and artists about social media, it's pretty much what I do all day long, every day. Here are my rankings of the top 3 things people overestimate about social media, what they underestimate, and 3 areas where people's fears and anticipations are generally accurate about social media. All right, so number 1 people underestimate is definitely fear. I have found that a lot of people are out and out terrified of social media, and they already know I'm extremely scared of social media, and yet this is still my number 1 thing. I think that however much you think you're scared of social media, the chances of it actually being more than that are pretty high. I honestly think that posting on social media is pretty close to the equivalent of just grabbing your ego's third rail and seeing what happens. There is no hiding on social media. I mean, sure, there's ways to reveal less of yourself, but once you make a post, you are saying, yep, I believe that this post should exist in the world. And even though that seems obvious and small, that actual hurdle of believing that you have something to say and it's worth being said and that you believe that other people should look at what you're doing and care about it and like it, that is very terrifying. It's a lot to overcome, and people are really stuck in this. This is hands down the biggest thing that I've learned since starting my business is that people are really, really terrified of social media, including me. Making this video is actually the first video I've done like this, and it's part of my continued effort to remain constant on social media. I haven't posted for a month because I was changing my strategy, and it took me, maybe a couple weeks to decide what I wanted to do next in my strategy. But after that, it was fear that's been holding me back. And the only small change I was trying to make was going from using a teleprompter to not using a teleprompter. And I've performed like thousands of times on stage with no teleprompter. And yet just that one small change put me back into my echo chamber of like, what am I doing? What if it all collapses here? So yeah, like I said, it's about 85% of why people aren't posting on social media, in my opinion. Just know that you probably, no matter what you even realize about this, you also probably have subconscious more layers in there of you avoiding getting on here and putting yourself out into public. So, ultimately, I think that when people are thinking about whether or not they want to do social media, I always encourage people just to make a choice. Either decide, yeah, I'm going to try to get this stuff out of it. It is worth it for me to do an experiment and see if I can get stuff out of it. Or, you know what? It's not. This is not for me. I'm too terrified of it and I don't want to engage. It feels like a bad time. I'm going to actively do my life in a way that does not involve social media. Okay. The second thing that people really underestimate is the difficulty level. People across the board do not give enough acknowledgement to how social media is. Why do they do this? I honestly believe that it is this. I think that we have decided and programmed into us that social media is easy because it became popular with younger people, and adults wanted to minimize something that they didn't understand or value. I don't really think that it gets more complex than this, and this is widespread. Even if you think that social media is valuable, this thought area is probably still somewhere inside you. I'm the age of millennial that was actively pitching to my parents, we need internet in the home. And they resisted for years. They're like, we do not need internet in the home. That's not a thing. What are you talking about, you crazy kid? And I'll leave it to you to guess whether or not you think my parents now have internet in their house. And I think that social media is really similar. It feels frivolous. It feels scary, and it kind of triggers that part of the ego where it's maybe I'm too old, and so you have to kind of minimize it. But social media is hard. And as I say up here, this is also part of my newsletter. If you are interested in my newsletter, you can find it in the comments. I have learned a bunch of skills in my life, and I'm here to tell you that social media I'm using just as much as my effort and brain when I'm focusing on social media than I was when I was learning chemistry or learning how to do stand-up comedy. Those things are difficult and involve strategy, and so does social media. Now, I don't want to turn you away if you're like, oh, well, I don't want to do chemistry or stand-up. You don't have to, but I guarantee you know how to do very, very difficult things in your life. And social media is going to be another one. Again, it doesn't mean that success is impossible. Think about all the perks that social media can give you. And yes, some people do get very, very lucky and they don't have to try very hard, or they just naturally fall into it. That's not the vast majority of people. The huge vast majority of people have to learn strategy and work on social media as a skill. Okay. Oh yeah, just one last thing on that is that I feel like the negative way that this mostly gets translated is that people are like, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I so bad at this? Like, why isn't it working right away? Like, why aren't I rich and famous yet? There's also like a part of this is that people will really view everyone on social media as like someone they want to like almost like scam. And it's like, these are like very like well-intentioned, like good people. And they're just like, well, I posted about my thing. Like, why isn't everyone liking it? And it's like, I don't know, maybe because like you just started and they want high quality content and you maybe like don't know exactly how to deliver that yet because you just started making it. Like maybe that's the reason. Not that they hate you and will never support you, or that like they're so stupid that they can't even get how awesome you are. Like maybe it's neither of those things. Maybe it's just that you need to continue to put effort into this. So yeah, and based on that, I'd say another thing that people really, really, really underestimate is how many posts you have to make. And if you're someone who has made content regularly, you understand this already. I'd say that people massively underestimate how many posts they have to make before they get real results, typically by orders of magnitude. I would say that this is one of those things where I feel like if I'm really honest with people before they've ever made a post, they're going to freak out and like maybe never make a post. Because people can get results a lot quicker. But if you're talking about like, I have a business or an art form and I want to rise that up and have social media be an integral part of how I'm getting success through my business or art, yeah, that's a long-term commitment. Like, and posting on social media is going to take time. And so, yeah, there is a natural frustration point around post 10. I have a lot of students who, once they get to like 10 posts, it's hard. Those first 10 posts are difficult. You're learning a lot of tools and strategy in them. And you feel it's very confusing and overwhelming. And you're also not usually getting a lot of positive reinforcement. And so around 10 posts, if people haven't had one really succeed and take off, or even if they've had one, but only one post of your first 10 succeeded, which is like awesome, their frustration level is like very stable. And they're just like, I know, I'm extremely frustrated with this process. They're like, yeah, why am I doing this? This is going nowhere. I just want to let you know it's very normal. I think it just must be something happening inside the brain as you like kind of accept like, oh no, what have I gotten myself into? What I've gotten myself into is like building another skill, and that's going to take time and effort. And I think that's like very frustrating that like life is already busy enough and like here's another thing and you're just starting to kind of glean how much work it's going to take. So yeah, but the main thing I want you to think about is just like, what did the 10th meal you ever cooked taste like? Good? Was it delicious? Like if you make art, what did your 10th attempt at a certain art form? Like, what was its vibe? Was it great? Was it professional art that people should pay for? And if the answer is like, of course not, the 10th meal I cooked was when I was a child and like, I don't want to revisit it. And yeah, my 10th improv show was like, there were no laughs in it. Why would social media be any different? Why would it be any different? And if you're like, well, it just should be, I want you to refer back to point number 2. You're probably underestimating how difficult social media is. It's a real skill that's going to involve just as much brain power and effort and time and work as anything else. And I can confidently tell you that, but I can also confidently tell you that it has, compared to other skills, it has such a potential for rewards. If you really have something you want in life and you're like, I'm willing to be focused and get this, social media is one of the best, if not the best opportunity that we currently have right now in the world, because we're all trapped in the world. We're all trapped in this year. And so I'm just trying to deliver what exists. Do I wish it was other things? Yes. Do I think social media is great and I love it? No. But it is real and it is here and it can help you in real concrete ways achieve your goals. So if you're willing to undertake that, I think just accept like you are gaining this next skill. And then interestingly enough, by the time people hit post 100, they understand this. I don't have to keep selling them on like, keep going. They're like, if you make 100 posts, you're like, yeah, no, I understand. It's like, this is a content game. Okay, here we are. And they also understand at post 100 that they're at the very beginning of their content career. And there's going to be many, many more. And so I've seen, it's not like the person that gets angry at post 10 is a bad person and the person who's like accepts the process at post 100 is a good person. They're the same person. I've seen like basically my job is just to watch people go through this process. And so I see the exact same person separated by like under 3 months go from complete frustration and hatred to like excitement and delight and feeling like, oh, wow, I'm just beginning and I can like take this wherever I want to. So if you're at this really angry, like, I hate this point and you are like a beginner and you haven't posted that much, just know like that's normal. What's really important is gaining that, willingness to keep going forward. Again, if that's what you want. No one says you have to. Okay. Now let's get into the top 3 things that people overestimate about social media. One is how long the cringe will last. So I just came from like a little bit of a doom and gloom category. This is like a little bit of the opposite. This is like all good news. So if you are worried about these 3 things, I would say you do not need to worry about them. You are going to overcome them very quickly. So yeah, people what they're accurate about is how much cringe they're going to feel when they start, which is usually a lot, an overwhelming amount, maybe the biggest reason why they aren't posting yet. But they really typically overestimate how long the cringe lasts. And there's one cure for cringe. Well, there's a few cures for cringe, but the easiest one to get to, the fastest one to get to, is just to post regularly. If you are posting 0 times right now and you make 10 posts in 1 month, and that is really like on any platform in any format, your cringe will go down by at least 50%. You're going to have, even just like after that first one, after that second post, the cringe is going to start lowering. You're going to start getting normalized. You're going to have these huge wins. It's almost like going through the tutorial section of a video game and you're like, whoa, I didn't know what I was doing at all. And now in a very short amount of minutes, I kind of know what I'm doing and I can look at this thing and understand it. That's the process you're going to go through if you don't post at all right now and you're going to start. And then if you keep going for another month, it's going to drop again by another 50%. So you can really get down to like a quarter of the cringe that you feel right now in just 2 months. And is a quarter of the cringe you're feeling maybe still an overwhelming amount that's going to really affect you on a day-to-day basis? Totally. Like I for my explanation earlier, like this video is a part of me overcoming my own cringe and trying to find new content types that I relate to. So 1,000,000,000%, the cringe can be with you forever, but so much of it, the vast majority, the part where you really feel like I'm never going to post, I can never post, I will never get past this, it's just me, that leaves really quickly and like in huge chunks, like with just a few things. And yeah, some people, like this is true for like maybe 80 to 90% of people. There are some people where it's like, this is just a deep-seated problem and the cringe really does stay consistent. There's other ways to work on it. I will say, even those people though, they typically still keep posting. So even if the cringe doesn't go down, they like learn to be like, yeah, like it's still there, but I just ignore it. And that's the end of that. And then one unfortunate thing is that it definitely comes back. So even just like changing topics, taking a break and then coming back, those will reset the cringe. And I know from personal experience, it can reset to what feels like its original height. It's like, how can I have made thousands of videos at this point showing my face and still be terrified when I film myself talking? I don't know, but it's true. It's just a real fact about the world. But at least at this point, I kind of have a callus, I guess it feels like, where it's like, I know how to like ignore those thoughts and feelings because I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to overcome it because I've overcome the cringe now at this point like 25 times. So it's like, oh, got to like overcome that again. Like that sucks. Anyway, let's ignore it for 2 weeks and get back to it. All right. Another thing that people overestimate about social media, and this is a big one, is how much age matters. So lots of people feel that they are just too old to be relevant on social media. I think that this is something that has just changed recently. I think there's an argument to be made that if you're in certain niches in like 2015, that people might judge you for being a certain age, or it might be harder to get traction as an influencer or something. But that has just really gotten wiped away in like definitely the last 5 years, because mostly like the last kind of like hurdle was us all going through COVID. And I think everyone just downloaded TikTok and other apps and everyone just got on social media. So I did the math here. Let's say that you're over 55 and so are all of your customers, and you're just like, what am I going to do on social media? Like, my customers aren't there and no one's going to care what I have to say. That's still only over 250 million people on TikTok alone. The fact is that we are just going towards an internet world. We're going towards a social media world. The numbers are getting more, not less. Like, I'm all for people getting offline and being in local community spaces in person. And I think that's going to increase too. But I think it's going to happen like at the same time. And we're going to, the era of like businesses not being on social media, artists not being on social media, even like if you're on social media, the era of those things not mattering, that's all less and less and less. So if you're interested in building stability for yourself, you can kind of predict the future a little bit. Social media is going to be equal to or more important as it is right now. It's going to rise consistently, just like how it has risen consistently for many years at this point. Also, I will say that sticking out as looking older than average can actually be a good thing in some areas, especially if you're trying to build trust, authority, and authenticity, especially if you are trying to reach a younger audience and you have advice to give. I think that a huge asset that older people, I'm 37, I have fallen into this category of being older on social media. I just see so many times over and over again, people devastatingly underestimating how much their real life experience matters and how valuable it is to people on social media, and how much people want to soak it up and listen to you. And what that equals is virality. I've talked to business owners who have run successful, profitable businesses for 30 plus years, who have clients that have stayed with them for over a decade, who are super happy. And they literally on a Zoom call try to tell me that they have nothing to say and no one would care about anything they have to say. And it's just like, you are so wrong. You're so wrong. If you've lived life, if you have tangible experiences that you can communicate and be like, here's how I overcame this problem. Here's how I used to think about this thing. And here's how I think about it now. People, maybe it's not in your feed, but it's in mine, and it's in people younger than me feed. We are looking for guidance. We're looking for not just like a shiny blog post that tells us what to do, but a specific person who seems authentic and genuine, who's like, here are like a super popular, like maybe like the biggest viral category of this post is like, 10 things I wish I knew in my 40s, or 10 things I wish I knew in my 20s or 30s. That concept is in so many different influencers that I've seen that have so many hundreds of thousands of millions of followers that are at literally any age you can imagine. I mean, hey, if you're in your 90s, you're almost going to go viral just by being interesting looking on camera. So do not worry about how much age matters. And the one thing I would say that this is like, it can be legitimate, but I'm still probably 9 out of 10 times I'd be like, that's nothing, is if you're a little bit older than your target customer and you're like, I specifically want to sell makeup to 20-year-olds and I'm in my mid-50s. Then it's going to be hard if you're like, you don't want to do the makeup tutorial on yourself. So like, there are some slight cases where that might be relevant. But I would argue that even in the majority of those cases, you could build a whole brand about the fact that you are older and you are speaking to your audience. So even in that makeup example, brand yourself as the person who is like, this makeup like works with everybody. And like, I've had all these years of trying makeup, and here's why I developed this specific formula instead, because it's so much better than all that other crap. And then start name dropping, referencing all the brands that you've used in your life, reference all the celebrities that you've seen use various makeups, and that you're like, this, I want to achieve this look from, 1982, and here's how I would do it, but I want to do it in a modern way. All of that stuff can still super go viral. Your life experience is more than enough to go viral. Okay. Third, on things people overestimate is how hard video editing is. It's really common for me to hear that someone has avoided posting for years because they're just like, I don't know how to edit videos. And I'm like, I get it. That's an intimidating skill that if you don't know where to start, it's like, what am I doing? I'm just here to say that overall, as a skill, if you're competent on your smartphone, if you feel like you have a bunch of apps on your smartphone and you know how to use them, you can learn how to edit videos. Because editing, really, you can do so many videos. You can make like half the videos that you see online with like 3 or 4 editing techniques. This is not a big concern at all. I will say that like maybe a quarter of my students come to me, my business owner students come to me, artistic too, and they're like, their number one thing they're telling me is, I can't do this because I can't edit videos. So this is like a really common thing that I'm hearing specifically about like why people have not posted for a long time. And I will say that I have never had a student leave class being like, oh, my number one problem is still editing videos. Everyone picks it up. It's just a matter of finding like the right tutorials or being shown once or twice. It's made to be very instinctual and like you can just use it with your thumbs. So I'd say like, and I have students who hadn't even taken a selfie before taking my class. So like truly at any level, if you can use a smartphone, you're going to be able to edit these videos. Don't worry about it. Okay. And now we've done over and underestimated. Let's go ahead and do the 3 categories of things that people are accurate about. So if you are having these hesitations or fears, I want you to know that your instincts are probably about correct. Okay. And the first one is how much time it takes. It takes a lot of time and effort to post consistently on social media for months and years. I have no desire to like rose-colored glasses anyone on this. If you're choosing to get into social media, this is a new thing in your life, just like how checking your email is a thing in your life, or whatever hobby you have is a thing in your life that takes up time. Social media will be one of those because social media is unpaid labor until it's not. It's a big bet that your energy and time and all of your efforts will get you the results that you want. And so, yeah, I think be aware of that. And if it's not the time, if you're truly too busy, then it's not the time. And that's great. I'd say that one little exception to this in overestimation is that people don't account for the fact that they're going to get so much faster on certain skills and again, really quickly. Like if you're like, oh, I've only made like 5 video posts or even less than that. And you're like, oh, I made 1 and it took me 2 hours to edit and I was so confused and in a bad mood at the end of it. You can get that down to like 2 minutes later on. Like any individual task that you are really struggling with, that can be really condensed. So the time investment per task will drop a lot quickly. So if for the rest of your social media life, you're like, your goals were just to do whatever you're doing now, it's taking you a long time, you could get that down to like under a half hour a week. But I will say that that's typically not what I see happen. I think what I see happen is either the social media bet becomes worth it for you, or you just are like, no, it's not worth it for me and I want to quit. Because if you start doing this and it is only taking like an hour a week, then you'll eventually start getting results, or you'll get enough results where you're like, ooh, like, I think I know how to like triple what I'm getting out of it if I go ahead and like double my time or something. And so it kind of sucks you in a little bit more. And so what I've seen with students is that it ends up kind of being like a lifestyle and a habit change. Either you become convinced that social media can get you the results because you're getting results from it, so it's worth investing in, or it isn't and you just end up stopping, right? And so I'd say that how much time it takes is the number one thing that I hear from people for why they don't want to start posting on social media. And so I do think it's legitimate. This is on my accurate list. But what I'll say about it is that it ends up not being super worrying. Like, I think that you don't want to sit there and waste time for forever, but no one ends up doing that. It's more of a consideration period. You figure out if it's going to work for you, and then either you're happy that you're spending the time or you're not. Because if you, like, sure, I know that you're busy. I completely know that you're busy. But let's say that you were guaranteed to go viral. Let's say that if you posted anything, it would get you 1 million views and 1,000 clicks to your website. Would you find the time this week? Like, yes. So you'd find it every week if you knew those were the results. So it's not so much that you don't have the time. It's really that you're not sure if your time is worth the results that you believe you can get out of it. And so then I would argue that the main problem is you aren't confident that you know the right steps to get what you want to out of social media. And I think that's just where some instruction and being specific about learning strategy and not posting to the void becomes useful. Because I definitely do not recommend just posting with no strategy. That's a time waster. The next one that's accurate is how much it can change your career for the positive. And I think that this is one thing I don't have to sell or explain to anyone. People already know how much they want to achieve on social media when they start my class, and they just aren't sure how to get there. Like, everyone knows exactly what they want. And it usually boils down to just a couple of things, right? It's either I want my business to succeed, which means I want to be getting new leads and customers through my business, or it's I want my art to succeed, and that can be split into a couple of categories. Either I just want pure creative expression, or I want my art career to succeed, and either social media helps pay me directly or make me more famous directly, or I'm able to leverage this audience to get more traditional rewards and pathways that I want in my art. So people already, although usually for artists, it is a combination of both. And that's where the difficulty gets in, because you're constantly on this pull between would I rather go viral easily or stick true to my artistic intention, and finding that middle point in the Venn diagram. That's really the difficult step for artists. Okay. So yeah, I think people, they already know, right? And they're right. Social media can absolutely change your career and give you almost any goal you have in mind. I'd say, look who's at the top of almost any niche. They're probably famous and rich because of social media. And people are like, well, I see that person doing that thing. What we do is kind of similar or very similar, and I would like the results that this person had. So I would say, if you're willing to put your time and effort into social media, if you're willing to learn strategy and pivot based on results, you can 100% achieve your goals. It's just that it comes back to that unfortunate thing where it's unpaid labor until it's not. So it's like, is this bet, is this lottery ticket on social media more than a lottery ticket, because we can actually shape and really kind of guarantee our chances with enough hard work? Is it worth it for me? And the last one that people are accurate about is how mean people can be. People are concerned about exposing themselves to trolls, and they have an accurate idea of what the worst case scenario could look like if they're harassed. And I think if you're like, maybe I don't want to deal with that, maybe I don't want to be on a public stage, I think that's very valid. So again, this comes down to a risk-reward thing. Are the rewards worth the risk of some random strangers being cruel, / escalating up to the worst types of harassment that can happen because of people online, right? And so that's your decision. I truly respect either decision in this case. There's really good points to be made on either side, and it's, at the end of the day, a personal decision. Obviously, I've made mine, but I don't take this choice lightly. This is definitely my biggest fear about social media. And so I think it's fair to want to protect yourself emotionally. All right. Hope you enjoyed that. I'm curious if you have any other additions, or if you disagree with me, or just want to say how cool and smart I am. I'll take that comment too. So drop whatever you're thinking. I'd love to hear what people think about this list. All right. Enjoy. Bye.